What's up, everybody? This is Brady Grove bringing you another special interlude episode of RotoBallers' official MMA podcast, Tap That. And as I said, this is an interlude episode. Picks are going to be coming out this week for UFC London, going down Saturday at noon. You can catch me in the RotoBaller MMA Discord from 10 to 11 a.m. on Saturday, giving sports betting and DFS picks for the card. With me today, they call this man the King of Kings. He's been busy on the podcast circuit, informing combat sports fans and drumming up, attention for himself, man, making a name. He is of the Power Slap organization. Give it up for Ryan Phillips. Ryan, thank you so much for being here tonight. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, brother. It's good to be here, and thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure, brother.
So, man, this has come up, pretty recently. It's kind of burst onto the scene, and it's something that, like, Dana White naturally has had a large part in promoting. And so if you could educate folks a little bit about your time with Power Slap.
It's been stellar. Nothing but. It's been a hodgepodge of, we have UFC people working with us. We have new hire Power Slap working with us. So it's kind of like a mix and match. Dana White's got it all under control. He's got a great person, Frank Lemicello, who's the president of Power Slap, running it. And it's a dream come true, man. I get to hang out with the boys. I get to meet Dana White, be his buddy. We talk sometimes on the Instagram, and it's just a very cool and something I've never dreamed of actually being a part of. But Power Slap in general, great new sport, something that's coming up. Slap fighting's actually been around for many years. But to see the growth, to see that there's actually a lot of money and production behind it now, and we got some safety, we got doctors on site, we got probably the best medical physicians the world can buy at our disposal. So everything is safe and everything is great, and just having Dana White's backing is huge.
And so, real quick, how are you recovering from that bicep injury?
Well, the bicep injury, I got surgery about a week later after I actually tore it. But everything's going good. I actually had PT today, physical therapy, and getting really strong. Probably going to come back stronger than ever, to be honest with you. But it's doing good, and we're actually turning around the corner here and getting to the finish line.
And so, man, I know you have kind of a general athletic background. Tell folks how you kind of got into this. How'd you find it, and how'd you realize that it's something that you might be able to excel at?
Martial arts has been a big part of my life since a very young age. I've been in Taekwondo with J.H. Kim Karate in Manasquan, New Jersey. I've trained at big gyms such as Strong Style MMA, which is where Alexa Kamer, John Hawk, Stipe Miocic train. It's a really big and wonderful gym that you go in there and you feel like a champion just by breathing the air. But I did boxing and MMA through them for a while. But for me, what happened with slap fighting is, me and the boys would go out on a weekend, drink a few. And it turned out that me and my friend just ended up slapping each other for no reason one night. And it was funny. And people would come around, they would watch us slap each other and just laugh at us being idiots, going toe to toe. And then you would actually get other people who were around watching it jump in and try to, slap us too. And it was just, it was comical and funny, but it's crazy how it's turned into a career because I went so many rounds with so many different people, and I knew I had a chin. I knew I could slap. I knew I could knock people out. And this was back in 2008. So this has been a real long time coming. I knew I was good for it just because of that alone. Maybe the drinks helped a little bit, numb the pain. But no, I'm a tough guy, and I knew I could do this for sure.
And so, for someone that is involved in Power Slap, what are things that you have to look to improve upon? It's such a new thing that, the first thing my mind goes to is how do you train and how do you get better and make up gaps on your competition?
Well, in my opinion, strength. Strength is a big deal. You definitely want to have the power in order to inflict damage to your opponent. So weightlifting, stakes and weights, like I like to say, protein and just getting after the iron is something that is a big deal. As far as that, I would say your technique with your slap. There's a lot of technique involved that people don't realize. Every little bit of movement and tweak with your body can either gain power or you can lose power. So you have to, figure out what's right for you, twisting the body, how do you tighten up this arm to make it so it's just a steel rod coming at your opponent's face. And then you got the defense. The defense is huge. There was a match that just came on where the guy literally did not know what to do. He was looking at the ground and didn't clinch his jaw, and that came to be a knockout. So if you clench your jaw, if you work your jaw really well, and you don't get this bottom part moving, that could really save you from a knockout or some serious damage. The jaws are sized, the chewing blocks, neck exercises, shoulder exercises, delt exercises, everything really involved with the area around your neck, something you have to work out. So there's a lot at play with what we do, and the rules themselves too. You have to learn the rules. If you don't know the rules, you're pretty much at a loss. The rules come into play very very much, and if you don't know the rules, it's going to be a bad day for you.
Well, so what are some of the key rules that that are going to set people apart in this competition?
Well, stepping is a number one. Stepping is basically when you are about to strike your opponent with a slap, but you either step into it or your foot twists into it, kind of mimicking like a right hook sort of deal or a left hook, whichever arm you're using. But that's against the rules. We don't want that left hook or right hook energy. We want, a slap energy. Slap energy is where you just keep your feet on the ground. You don't necessarily move your feet or legs that much. And it's a twist. You just want to use your torso. So it really does knock down the power a lot when you can't use your legs. A lot of people who do use their legs as far as stepping and doing a pivot on their foot get a knockout. But when you foul on the knockout, you're disqualified. So it's not a good thing to do. You have to really train hard to keep those feet planted when you're throwing, especially people who have backgrounds in MMA, people like me who have boxing backgrounds. It's tough. But if you work at it, it'll go away.
Right, because it's such a natural point of any mixed martial arts or combat sport to have your footwork feed into your striking energy, and so that must be a tough habit to break.
Yeah, it definitely has. And you can tell a lot of the guys are having a hard time with it because of just, being when you get up on that stage, you kind of lose track of a lot of things. You're very, your energy is through the roof. The crowd's watching you, just the lights themselves, the cameras in your face. So a lot of guys revert back to what they know, and that's pivoting and twisting into their punches to get more power. And you can see great athletes losing because of that. So, yeah, it's definitely detrimental.
And, we're in a very interesting time in combat sports history. And, it's hard to say. It's going to microwave, because for 100-something years, we only had boxing. And
Right.
kickboxing existed on the fringes. MMA is about a 30-year-old sport, on a major level. And
Right.
now we've got bare knuckle boxing. BKFC has had a pretty big year as far as their promotion and the gains that they've made. We've got, Jake Paul and Nate Diaz are fighting each other, in a little bit of time, and Francis Ngannou is fighting Tyson Fury. Mike Tyson fought, Roy Jones Jr. So we're in an era where you can kind of make your own rules as far as what we want to see out there as a combat sports product. So, who are some of the people that you like watching right now, and what are some things that capture your attention that are, attempts to make some money in combat sports by both the athletes and the promoters?
Well, to answer your question about who I'm watching right now, I'm watching my buddy Alexa Kamer. Alexa Kamer is a UFC athlete. He won the Contender Series. He's fighting August 5th at Nashville, coming off an injury like me. But he's great to watch, man. The guy is explosive. He won with a flying knee knockout on the Contender Series. It's just berserk. He does some crazy stuff. Stipe, of course, hometown hero. I got to root for him. Him coming up against John Jones, huge, man. That is some balls to the wall, baby. That's some good matchmaking. I can't wait for that one. But yeah, like you said, all these weird and niche sports are coming too. I guess with the power of YouTube and the internet, they can find a market. They can find people that are watching it on the regular, and then they can make it into something. Turn it into something big. And I think that's what you see with Power Slap, is that there was slap fighting championships, there was Punch Down, Chin Check, and all these organizations pushing their stuff on the internet, and it was just getting views after views after views. I mean, there was a lot of interest. So Dana jumping on it, smart move, great businessman. He's very smart. And now we have all the medical attention behind it, and that there's a lot of safety in regards to that. So it's really coming into its own. There's rounds, the rules themselves, and it's coming into more of a organized sport. Rather than just some guy off the bar stool who's never had a fight coming to fight someone. You know what I mean? Celebrity boxing is becoming a really big thing too. Like you said, Jake Paul, Nate Diaz. I've watched Jake Paul, of course. You can't miss it. Tyron Woodley, Jake Paul. What's his name? Ben Askren versus Jake Paul. You can't not miss those. But I think it's great. It gives everyone a chance. There's a lot of people out there that may not be good at one thing, that might be good at something else. And it looks like that, a lot of people are getting their turn.
And shout out to Alexa Kamer, who has a big fight coming up in August against Tanner Boser, and on a 2-fight losing streak to William Knight and Nikolai Nagumarianu in 2 close decisions. So yeah, that is a huge fight for him and a huge fight for Tanner Boser. So a lot's on the line in that matchup in August. And that's going to be in Nashville, you said?
Nash-Tucky, baby. Yep. Alexa, those 2 fights that Alexa just lost, unfortunately, he had a really bad injury to his hand. He couldn't even close his hand. So this fight, he's gonna be 100%. He's gonna be healed up, and this should be a barn burner, man. Definitely check it out.
And I'm currently in Columbus, Ohio, and there's something so like Ohio kind of about Power Slap. I don't know is exactly. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to express, but I think there's something there. I can see it grabbing strong roots.
You know what it is, man? It's because Ohio has some of the toughest SOBs around. And this is one of the truest tests of being, tough. To stand there and take a hit from a 265-pound man who usually weighs in over that, it's just, you got to be tough. You got to be strong. You have to be mentally prepared. So I think, yeah, it is an Ohio sport because we have a lot of people who are just straight savages. I mean, you can go through the list. Mark Coleman, Matt the Immortal Brown. I mean, those guys right there, the godfather of ground and pound. Matt the Immortal's like 50 years old, knocking people out still. It's just out of control. Ohio is just breeding killers, and OH, baby.
And so because it's a sport where there's not as much variety as in terms of the total strikes that you can throw at somebody, the kind of things that happen in the fight, like as there is in mixed martial arts. It seems like the individual athletes then have to, self-promote and kind of have to get creative in order to distinguish themselves from the rest of the field. And so what do you think about that and the opportunities that you've gotten and that other fighters have gotten since they've joined up with Power Slap?
Yeah, I mean, right now, you may not see a lot of variation, but it's coming. There are with the windups. You could see some windups like Alan Klingbeil. He winds up. He might do it quick. Dwayne Crespo. Every round, it's a different windup. We try to get people off of their timing to when they clench their teeth and take the shot. So you are seeing a lot of innovation coming out here now, with it being something that people are training towards. It's kind of cool to see. But beyond that, yeah, I mean, the opportunities to present ourselves, like with you, I greatly appreciate getting these opportunities to speak on behalf of Power Slap and represent them. They're great opportunities. I have some great sponsors that I've gained over the time since I've left the house. Shout out Turf House Farms, Planet Hank, Cafe 65, and the Indie Connection, and so on and so forth, man. It's a blessing. But yeah, you have to work. You have to get on that stage. You have to take every moment while on camera, make it your own, make people remember you, and drive this sport forward. There's it's like the old days of the UFC. Who do you remember? The greatest people were like Tank Abbott. Tank Abbott wasn't the greatest fighter, but man, that guy was entertaining, right? So we have to entertain. This is sports, but in my opinion, it's more sports entertainment because, like you said, there's not a lot of variation, but you definitely have a big chance of entertaining the crowd. That's for sure.
And I mean, it seems like too there's an opportunity for I don't know how far away we are from this, but athletes who previously competed in boxing and mixed martial arts who have a bit of a name for themselves, maybe being able to cash in and do an event for Power. So I say that only because it seems like that's happening with everything. You saw it with BKFC a ton last year. Uh,
Right.
it seems like it's only a matter of time until it starts to happen with Power Slap.
Actually, it's already beginning. We actually, we have internet personalities coming over. We actually had one of the Jackass stars that was going to actually compete, but he backed out. Sorry. But with this one, I can let you know that with our next Power Slap 4, there is going to be someone that you may notice from NFL, maybe. Uh, so so you have people coming from everywhere. I mean, if you see it right now, I mean, I come from a background, I do have martial arts background, but I've never been in an actual martial arts, let's say like in a cage or anything. I've done tournaments, I've done katas, things of that sort, but I've never been in the cage in a big setting like how we are now, a Power Slap. So, I'm unique to this. There's other people that haven't done anything before like this who are in Power Slap. Like I said, I work at an office job. I work day job office, I go to the gym, and then, sometimes I'll slap the shit out of someone for money. So yeah, so it's very eclectic. It's definitely growing. As you can see it growing, there's going to be a lot more interest, and with it growing, there's going to be a lot more money. With more money, you're going to see a lot of different faces coming. Who knows? You could see a celebrity come in and be like, "Hey, I just want to go for it. I want to try to slap someone." Who knows what's going to happen? Anyone can do it, really. I say that very loosely, however, because not everyone can take the shot. It's a different type of breed of person. You only see certain people take the shot, but anyone can do it. And I'm excited for the future. I'm sure we're going to see some crazy people come in, like kind of like Ninja Warrior.
And like the bodybuilding community too, I could see it having kind of a tighter grip with them as well. Just
Yeah,
so many of those guys already have the gigantic neck muscles needed to be able to hang in there for a long time. Different reasons like that, but this is the world of combat sports that we're in, where there's these different Venn diagrams that overlap with different niche markets, and
right.
it's about how you use that to your advantage. And so here's the question moving forward. What are your goals out of Power Slap? And if you had to look forward into the future, 5 years into what Power Slap is, what do you see?
Well, my goal is to be the champion. Obviously, I want to be number one. I want to be the best. I want to prove to myself and to everyone around me that I am the best. I sure as shit talk a lot about it, so got to prove it. Eventually, I do want to move down to 205, and maybe even 185 because 185 is actually my natural weight. Right now, I'm sitting with some COVID-19 weight, which is still on. I mean, it's been years, man. I got to get on my P's and Q's now. They keep me at heavyweight, but I definitely want to push the sport forward as I have been. I have a lot of goals, but a lot of goals have been met already. It's been a one hell of a ride, and I love it. I immortalized my parents. I was on TV on TBS. Something I've never thought that would be even possible. But 5 years down the line, I see it being more popular. I believe the MMA fans will start to turn around, and a lot of the MMA fans will cross over and enjoy this. I think the hits are still going to come. I think the progression of the sport is going to be monumentous, but at the same time, it's going to be up to the person. Like I said, not everyone can take the shot. That is a big deal. But you know, wishful thinking, slap fighting in the Olympics.
What country do you think would have the biggest advantage in that? I mean, like you got to go. I have to say, U.S. is medaling, but who's rounding out the winners podium?
That's a good question because once you start going international, you start getting into steroids and all those performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah, Iranian could hop in.
Yeah, right, exactly, bro. So, yeah, that guy. Well, if Iranian Hulk jumps in, it might be a bad day for him because he's not who he says he was.
Right.
But maybe Liver King though, that'd be fucking hilarious. but yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows what could happen? That would be sweet. I don't think it would. Like I would think probably USA across the board. But like I said, if Russia can get their shit together and Poland and all those places, that they'll get off the steroids. If you look at some of those slap fighters, holy moly, those guys are jacked to the gills, my man. So they're taking the roids. Even the women, bro. The women, oh my god. There was one woman, she's got bigger arms than I do, bro, and she's only like 5'4". I'm like, I don't want to test that. So so Olympics, USA all day, baby. Maybe Canada. Canada is very, very in tune with slap fighting. That some of our biggest fans are in Canada.
Canada's always about like Canada's really big into rap battling. Canada like is if you're trying to take something into a niche market, try it out in Canada because they are niche all the way. And I'll commend you, man, because you have been really busy on the podcast circuit spreading the word about Power Slap. And every time any internet search I did of your name, the King of Kings always came up.
Oh, that's great.
It's attached to your name, and that's good work.
Man, I gotta say though, it's been a battle with Ryan Phillippe, whatever the actor. It's been a battle. Me and him are battling. I'm glad to hear that I'm finally popping up over him because that's been a goal of mine too. So thanks, brother. Good news.
You guys are gonna have to have a match in Power Slap to settle the dispute of who is the Ryan Phillips or Felipe.
Let's go, baby. He's been a thorn in my side ever since, bro. Everyone's like, "Oh, Ryan Felipe." No, it's Ryan Phillips, man, like the screwdriver. Come on.
And there's some other questions that we have to address because it's hard to talk about Power Slap right now without talking about the controversy that's been out there. And
Yeah.
Dana White's been, he's had to defend it a lot. There's a lot of debate back and forth on the internet about different things. And so let's start with this, man.
Sure.
Because as you know, I'm big into MMA. I see what the debates are, and I'm genuinely curious to hear what your responses are. Like, what would you say to those people in the MMA community that say that Power Slap has no combat sports or martial art value to it?
I would say that people said the same thing about MMA in the beginning. MMA is a brutal sport. I mean, to be honest with you, it's kind of more brutal than what we're doing. You're taking significant shots to the head, more than 50, 20, 50, maybe even 100. I mean, I think Colby Covington had what, 300 something significant strikes in one match. That's a lot of brain rattling. So I would say that this is a sport. We all train hard. We're all, taking this very seriously, and we're trying to be professionals at the same time. I'm taking this very seriously. We lift, we run, we, do whatever we have to do to come in better than last time. And it's a competition. I mean, we're all fighting for something. We have belts on the line. There's money involved. And it's just like MMA coming up. It's just something you have to get used to, something that, you can't look at it from an MMA perspective because it's not MMA. It's something completely different. So I think that bias that these MMA guys have, will wear off as soon as they turn that off themselves, that they look at it differently. And it's starting to happen. In the beginning, you had someone up here talking shit about it, and then everyone followed them. Like, example, like a BJ Penn, or whoever. But those guys are turning around. They're starting to see that there is actual athletes that are involved with this. They do see the differences. The body changes from each person. Some people are moving weight classes. That means you have to cut weight and you have to make weight. So, I would just tell them, give it a chance. Stop being hard on it because you're an MMA guy and you have an elitist mentality. Drop all that shit. Give it a chance. Watch it. It's fun, exciting. It's fast paced. You'll love it.
And I do have to agree with you on two of the things that you said specifically. That one, MMA fans can be pretentious. I don't like it in any sports fan. It's not how sports fandom was meant. Now, sometimes you need the pretentious people because you always have people on the other side. You need
Right.
the Bengals fan that, isn't happy with any draft pick, just like you need the Bengals fans that are tailgating outside of Paul Brown Stadium.
Exactly.
And so, I do, MMA fans definitely do get pretentious. And on the safety side, which has probably and weirdly been the thing that's been attacked most about Power Slap, and to be fair, it's the defensive component. I think that people are talking the fact that
Yes.
you're taking the shots, they're hard shot. I don't think anybody's disputing that part.
Right.
But when we're talking about safety, it's really hard for anybody in boxing, MMA, or any combat sport, in my opinion, to throw stones. We know that these sports are intense sports made for people at the top of athletic prime in all of the world. And that, there's dangers to it, and that people have accepted those dangers and are willingly going into it to do something that they either love to do, they've trained to do, or both.
Right. And it's the same thing with Power Slap. We're all grown. I'm an old guy. I unfortunately missed the boat with MMA and boxing. I've had some family troubles that hindered me from competing. I did train hard. I was there. I was gonna be, something of a name in the boxing world. But unfortunately, I missed the boat. I had a lot of family problems, and I just couldn't turn it around. But here I am with Power Slap. I have the same mentality. I'm bringing it over. It's a great opportunity for me, and I'm taking it. Like you said, and that was very well said. What you just said. It is true. The MMA guys, boxing fans. They, like I said, they just have to pull themselves back. We're all MMA fans. Every single person in Power Slap is an MMA fan. We don't say anything about them getting, their nose broken or their orbitals crushed and ears ripped off, or their cauliflower ear blown up. We don't say anything about that because it's the nature of the sport. Yes, we are taking huge hits, absolutely, and the it's kind of odd to see. You have to get used to it that people are taking these shots, quote unquote, undefended. Now that's the thing. If people actually looked into the sport and looked at the different techniques there are, such as rolling with the slap, or just how people clinch down or take the slap, or kind of like tilt their head into it. There are these little variations of defense that we do have to protect ourselves and not get rattled. If you take a hit and it goes all the way over here, you're creating so much whiplash. You kind of want to keep it in the middle. So there are techniques. A lot, you don't necessarily see them because you'd have to know them to see them, but there are techniques to keep us safe, and there are doctors on site at all times. So,
And and on the other note of what you said about how it's a separate aspect of combat sport. You yourself have said, I love getting hit, and so it's like it's supposed to measure kind of a different thing. It tests that ability in you that isn't necessarily tested by all aspects of other combat sports.
right. Like I said, it's a completely different sport. It's wild that they're just pitting it together with MMA, because it has nothing to do with MMA, really. The only thing that has to do with MMA is Dana White. Really, we're not in the UFC. We're not we're not running MMA style matches. We're not it's not like that. It's a completely different, separate sport altogether from MMA. And it's just going to take time. I mean, MMA itself, you got to think in the beginning, it was barefisted. It was grueling. There was no rounds. They had to regulate it. It's the same exact thing that's going on with Power Slap. At first, there was no rounds. Then there were rounds. And then there were rules. And now there's rules, rounds, regulations. The Nevada State Athletic Commission's involved. It's just growing and growing. It'll start changing into the better. And I think, like I said, people are going to come around. They're going to see the value and be fans.
Well, this has been extremely interesting and illuminating. And Ryan Phillips, King of Kings, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. This has been another RotoBaller interlude episode of of RotoBaller's official MMA podcast. Folks, follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady. Follow the podcast at Tap That MMA Podcast on YouTube and Facebook. Like and subscribe. And again, I'll be in the RotoBaller MMA Discord, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Saturday before UFC London. Ryan Phillips, thank you so much for being on the show tonight, man. If there's anything else that you want to say, anybody you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. I want to shout out my podcast. We have a great podcast with the Power Slap athletes at Barefisted Podcast. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. Go check that out. Beyond that, I just want to shout out all the Power Slap athletes. They're all my friends. Great people. We're all in this together in a team, and we're making this shit happen. Definitely thank you so much, RotoBaller, for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and actually it's been a very, very great interview. I appreciate your questions very much.
Well, I'm glad, and I hope that everybody listening, whatever their take is, I hope that you have a little bit more information. You're a little bit more educated on what the conversation has been about on the internet. And I hope that you check out that man, Ryan Phillips, because he is an interesting dude. He is marketing the bejesus out of himself. Again, Ryan, thank you so much for being on. Folks, I'll be making picks for UFC London later this week. Thanks for listening. Peace.